Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. And today I want to talk to you about what is coming. What happens next for our society here in the United States? And you may ask yourself, what does this have to do with military and foreign affairs? Well, if you are outside the United States, then obviously it is a foreign affairs topic. And this may be happening in your country as well, Western European nation states. But what is happening here in the United States is a mixture of theocratic environmentalism, meaning the embracement of a religious-based theocratic system on environmentalism. The new god for the left here in the United States is environmentalism. Now you will say, well, this is all designed to divide the country and have us fight against each other. Now, the problem with that may be so. But the problem of that whole concept of it's an effort to divide, that other side is looking to do something that the other half of the population of the United States is completely against. So what is that? We're seeing extreme liberalism, the whole transgender movement, debauchery. Then we're seeing the theocratic efforts of environmentalism. And those two are combining. Those two are also directly working with large corporations and governments, state, local, federal governments, to push this ideology. This ideology of the current political party that is in power. So what does that look like? What is that starting to look like? Well, I think initially those individuals on the left, want us in very large cities. They want us compacted together. You can be easily controlled if you are concentrated. And thereby, these large technology corporations that have created these delivery services, Uber, DoorDash, other corporations that offer delivery of food services, electric car companies. But what does that have to do with anything? What does an electric car have to do anything with what's happening in the United States? Well, if you have an electric car, that car can be shut down at any point by the government. It's a fact. Absolutely. 100% shut off. And even you can argue that combustion engines, companies that produce those vehicles as well, are instituting systems where transportation can be instantly shut off. Housing. Housing is becoming incredibly expensive. The concept of owning an actual house in states, in areas near New York, Los Angeles, these big left-leaning cities, Seattle, Portland, the idea of owning a home, a single family home, is becoming much, much harder to do. Very expensive. So again, concentration. Moving you into these multi-dwelling units. Putting you in a 500, 600 square foot box. Not a home, a box. Stacked with other people above you, below you, to the left, to the right. And then you must use an app to have food delivered, an app to go from point A to point B if it is not within walking distance. And that is where society is heading. And there's a large portion of society in the United States that does not want that lifestyle. And again, in order to facilitate that transition to being concentrated in these very large urban areas, is the theocratic necessity of radical environmentalism. You have to do this to save the environment. You have to have electrical appliances. You have to have an electric car, or you probably eventually won't have an electric car. You will be on electric transport that is state or some sort of corporate-owned transportation system to get you from point A to point B. That can be shut down at moment's notice. It's disturbing. That's disturbing for a lot of people that don't want to live that way. Understand there's people in New York who are perfectly happy living in those conditions, and many have not known any other condition except living in these concentrated encampments of humans. But that is where the left here in the United States is taking us. The idea of consuming meat and meat-based products, having a good steak. Who doesn't like a good steak? I like a good pork chop. Eating meat is becoming reprehensible to those on the left. They see it as violence. And right now, you may think that the concept of the government eventually banning the production of meat for human consumption is outrageous. But 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you would have thought hanging a transvestite flag draped over the White House would be something that would never occur. Yet here we are. So to say that eventually meat-based products will become so expensive that you can't get them, or will simply be made illegal. It's coming. We're heading in that direction. So these are the two ideologies that are pounding against each other right now. One side is saying no, one side is saying yes. One side says no, we want to go this way. The other side is saying no, we have to go this way. The science tells us we have to go this way. Otherwise, we will all perish. We have to be concentrated in these camps. We all have to live here. We cannot consume meat. You have to have an electric vehicle, or you have to transport yourself on an electric vehicle. You have to worship at the foot of radical environmentalism. It's what they're teaching in schools. Religion in schools has been banned. And yes, I agree with the separation of church and state. But a new church is beginning to be integrated into state control, state orthodoxy. That is the theocratic religion of environmentalism. And it is a religion that is oftentimes based on unreliable science, unconfirmed science, scare tactics. Greta Thunberg. And I reiterate my stance, reference to her and those radical environmentalists. If you look at their brains as they chant their dogma, their brains would light up just like a handler of snakes and a consumer of strychnine. Same soup, different bowl. So is this your future? You will have nothing, and you will like it. Is this it? Is this what you want? It's coming. Have a good day.